Hello and welcome to Lorbek Luxury Cars. I'm Harry and on this edition of the Friday Drive I reviewed this, our 1927 Rolls-Royce 20 horsepower. The equivalent of the Rolls-Royce Ghost today, the 20 horsepower, was the entry level in the Rolls-Royce family, sitting alongside the bigger and more expensive Rolls-Royce Phantom. Available as a complete package on which you could put your own body of your own specification for around £1,100, or you had the option of a driveway package ready to go for around £1,600. Now that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but back in 1927 that would have bought you a very substantial home in a very nice area here in Melbourne. However, these days these totally hand-built cars are a lot more affordable than they once were. One, because it's nearly 100 years old, and two, because almost no one knows how to drive them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, if you step inside this old girl, there's a bit of a procedure to getting its 3.1 litre straight six going. And once you do have it going, and you've mastered the art of actually getting it running just right, you've got the next issue: how do you actually drive it? And that's a whole other story. That's because once you get going, you have to change gears. Now, that doesn't really sound like much of a problem. I mean, we all have a basic understanding of how to change gears in a manual car. But this is a little bit different. And that's because this car doesn't have any synchro meshes on any gears. Now, that means you have to match the drivetrain with the gearbox and the engine all together to have any chance at all in being able to change a gear and make any progress at all. Luckily, I'm very good at it. And once you've slotted, or more likely crunched your way up the gears, if you are the less experienced operator of a veteran Rolls-Royce motor car, all the way up to its top speed of around 95 kilometres per hour, you will inevitably want to stop. And this is quite a tricky process too. And that's because in each corner are mechanically assisted servo brakes. Stand on them and you'll be immediately surprised at how ineffective they are by today's standards. But back in 1927, this was as good as it got. And when you compare it to the older models which only had two-wheel brakes, this feels like a whole revelation and something you could almost go around a track in. Probably not a track, but it's a lot better. It's a totally unique experience. In my opinion, when someone tells you you are not a true petrol head until you've owned an Alpha, is talking utter garbage. The only way you can call yourself a car enthusiast is to be able to pilot a veteran car, not just competently, but beautifully. Now, problem is I may be putting a lot of you off the idea of a veteran car, but rest assured, this is one of the best motoring experiences I've had for a very, very long time. I feel totally connected to the car, an integral part of this journey. And that's something you do not get on a car even from the 40s. It has a majesty to it, a sense of occasion, pomp and ceremony. It's very regal, it's very noble. But I guess to make it even more noble and more regal, I really ought to be sitting in the back. But the 20 horsepower wasn't actually intended for chauffeur-driven motoring, though the reality is most of them were chauffeur-driven. And even though it's not as fast and as powerful as its big brother, the Phantom 1, or even the Silver Ghost, it's still a really, really good car. I love it. It's a joy. Every drive is a celebration of the excess and boom that was the 20s. And I encourage anyone who loves cars to learn about veteran cars and learn to love them as well, because in only a few years' time, all the people who know them and who can drive them will be gone. And we can't let that happen. This car comes from an era where there was absolutely no compromise to quality. This is simply one of the best cars ever made. No one who was working at Rolls-Royce at the time were listening to accountants telling them to shave a few cents off here and there to make the car just a little bit more affordable. It's totally uncompromising to quality. And the testament to that, of course, is that this car is here nearly 100 years later and still going strong. So get enthusiastic, Australia. Expand your horizons and come down to Lorbek Luxury Cars and buy this stunning 1927 Rolls-Royce 20 horsepower to start your next motoring adventure. You won't regret it. We'll see you next week.